My coworker loves taking credit for other people's work. Then he got exposed, by user ratio. I work as a software engineer and in my team we follow the usual process of writing code, reviewing it, testing it, and deploying it. One of my coworkers, Steve, had a habit of taking credit for other people's work in front of management. He isn't a bad developer, but he loves making it seem like he was doing more than he actually was. I'm quite introverted, so I don't usually speak up in meetings unless I have to. Calling someone out directly doesn't come naturally to me, so I usually just let things slide. During a big project, I spent days fixing a complicated bug. The problem ran deep, and the fix had to work across different parts of the code. If you hadn't actually worked on it, it was pretty hard to follow. After a lot of testing, I finally got it done. At the next team meeting, before I could even say a word, Steve jumped in and started explaining my fix as if it was his. He kept saying things like we decided to. And our approach was to. Making it sound like he was the person behind it. I was annoyed, but I kept quiet. The next day, another bug popped up in the same area of the code. Our manager turned to Steve and said, "Since you worked on this, can you patch it?" And that's when the fun started. Steve froze. The thing is, if you didn't actually write the fix, it wasn't easy to understand how it all fit together. He had no idea where to even begin. He tried stalling and even sent me a message asking if I could explain the logic of the code real quick. I told him that I was busy at the moment and that I will catch up with him later on. I didn't. After 5 hours of struggling, he finally admitted in the team chat and wrote something like, "Actually, I didn't write this part, maybe OP can take a look." I replied, "Of course, I'll check it." 10 minutes later, I had it fixed. Our manager came over and congratulated me. We were chatting for a bit and before heading off he made a deliberate comment about how great it was having someone who actually understands what we are working on. Steve didn't say a word. FKU Steve. If you're gonna take my parking spot, enjoy your extra steps, by user Sire Office. I have an assigned parking spot at my apartment complex. It's mine, clearly marked, no confusion. This one guy that seems nice in previous conversations, has parked the second time in my place. I talked to him the first time and he apologized. Instead of talking to him, a second time, I just parked directly behind him. Not blocking him in completely, just close enough that he'd have to do a very awkward 17-point turn to get out. It took him a solid 5 minutes to escape. I was having the time of my life watching him struggle from my window. How to keep the tweakers from jacking all your high-speed data. LOL, by user Miranda Joe 93. I gave my hotspot password to a friend because she was struggling financially and basically homeless at the time. No big deal, happy to help. What I wasn't happy about. She handed that password out like it was a free sample at Costco. Next thing I knew, my backyard turned into a full-time lounge for her and all her friends, most of whom were very enthusiastic about, let's say, alternative pharmaceuticals. Now, I don't judge. I've been homeless. I've been on drugs. But you know what I have never been? Okay with losing my high-speed data. That was the real crime here. These people were out there at 2 a.m., streaming who knows what, and I was stuck with internet speeds that made dial-up look like NASA technology. So, I did what any rational, data-loving person would do. I changed my hotspot name from iPhone to FBI/DEA surveillance and changed the password. And voila! Just like that, my backyard went from a 24/7 internet cafe to a peaceful, empty space. Once more winking face. Guy made me wait while he got an extra sample. Now I'm getting his samples before he can see, by user Morpheus 4212. In my local ShopRite, they have a machine that dispenses free samples. It's a slightly time-consuming process where you have to punch in your phone number and wait through a commercial before receiving a sample. It's usually something like Belvita mini bites or granola bars. I ended up behind this one guy on 2 occasions. He got his sample, saw me standing there waiting and then typed in a second number to get a second sample. I don't care that he got 2 samples. Do whatever you want. I was annoyed that he knows it takes a good amount of time and didn't have the courtesy to let me go before he got his second sample. So, I wrote down his phone number and now grab his second sample before he can. This week, it was a small box of raisins. I may have saved him from disappointment. Illegal dumper thinks house is still empty. Gets trash returned for free, by user XO76A8PA4. Over a decade ago, I rented out a house that had been vacant for a while. It was an old lady's house who had passed away a couple of years ago. Her elderly daughter lived almost an hour away and had been trying to rent it out instead of selling it because the house value was still low because the housing market had not recovered after 2008 financial crisis yet. Woke up on trash day only to see two large, black garbage bags at the end of the driveway next to the garbage can. What the fuck? Went outside and decided to rummage through them. Fortunately for me, the dumper was dumb enough to leave a piece of mail inside one of the bags that had an address on it. Looked up the address online. Lo and behold! The address was only a mile and a half away, and since I was unemployed at the time, I had plenty of time to drive over there and give them back their trash. Wrote down the directions on a piece of paper since I didn't have a smartphone at the time and wouldn't get one until almost 2016. Started driving over while thinking about what I was going to say. Not sure if I thought of anything clever to say. Went and knocked on their door, but there was no answer, so I decided to just chuck the bags on their lawn and go back home. A week or two later, there were some additional items like a kid's toy rocking horse next to my bin on trash day, but no bags with mail, so I couldn't really do anything. After that, no more illegal dumping.